What's up, everybody? Welcome to Food for Thought. This is Anthony Stewart, and we're questioning everything they've ever said. I had the distinct pleasure of meeting Vida Evenson a few weeks ago on the Meat of the Matter podcast, and I was really excited about her story and needed to have a real conversation with her. So we had a talk, and the talk was about 2 hours plus, and we got into some really, really interesting things about the carnivore diet, what it's done to her. This is a lot about herpes and asking why she was able to put it into remission and hasn't had an outbreak for so long. We get inundated all the time about these impossible things. The medical system said they don't know what causes it. There is no cure. There's nothing you can do. Medications. So we get into a lot of stuff today about, we dig into it, and I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. And I'm going to be putting out part two very soon, and I hope you enjoy this conversation with Vida Evenson. We're here with Vida, and I had the very great pleasure of meeting Vida with our Meat of the Matter podcast. But I was like, to be honest with you, I heard when you were telling how your story was, there was so many things that were going on and questions, and maybe if you could just do a quick rundown of your story, and then we'll kind of see what we can do and see where this goes for sure.
Sure, absolutely, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be here again. So my story, the reason why I went carnivore is because I was suffering from these full body herpes outbreaks. I've got three different documented kinds: HSV1, which is the cold sores, HSV2, genital herpes, and herpes zoster, the
Shingles.
shingles. Thank you. Yeah. And because I also went through mononucleosis when I was 16, this is undiagnosed, so I can't prove it, but I have all the symptoms of the Epstein-Barr, which comes from mononucleosis. So those are the three diagnosed, and I'll add on the other one. I get on my body from my nose to my chin, the entire mouth, very swollen, cold sores, which are herpes, HSV1, and on my neck and on my torso and on my wrists and on my fingers, and I can get them on my toes, genitals as well. So I get them everywhere. I get them everywhere. And it spurred me on. This started happening when I was about 44, something like that. Uh, and it had more to do with major stress that came out. And I suffered for about 8 months of continual outbreaks. It was just here on my face at the time. And I was trying to figure out what to do. All the doctors said, it's herpes. There's nothing you can do about it. So just live with it, put on the creams, take the antivirals, do all the stuff that regular people do when they have a herpes outbreak.
Yeah.
And hey, there's nothing you can do. And I did that, obviously. Didn't help me. It didn't work. So I went to the alternative route, homeopathy, herbal medicines, anything I could think of, apple cider vinegar on my sores, which was quite painful, but and these outbreaks were so exhausting that I started searching on my own because I wasn't getting any answers from anybody. And I do live on this tiny little Greek island, and we don't have health centers. We don't have doctors here. We don't have anything here. And I was just kind of alone. And of course, when you're having outbreaks like that, you don't show your face anywhere,
Oh
you
man.
don't go anywhere, you shut down. So there was an emotional part to all of this as well. I came across the raw vegan diet, which was brand new at the time. Hardly anybody knew anything about it. It was just coming into, online on YouTube and things like that. And I ran across a video and I watched it and I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And it really, really did help. It helped for about 6 months. I didn't heal completely, but it helped so much that I thought, this is it. This is it. Meat is the enemy. Meat is the reason why I'm sick. But after about 6 months, I went vegan because I needed to. I wasn't satiated. I couldn't get that feeling. I was eating all day long. The rest of my family was eating the typical Mediterranean diet foods, which I had to cook for them. So it was getting difficult. So I turned to the vegan route. I started getting the outbreaks again. They started coming down and coming out on my body, on my fingers. It's everywhere. And for the past 12 to 13 years now, I'm 60. So, do the math, about 48, right? I started getting these full body outbreaks and other things as well. I had been on the vegan diet for quite a while. In 2011, I had a brain aneurysm, and I don't know where that came from, if I had always had a weakness in that particular blood vessel in my head. But it happened. So I'm not going to say that I was vegan and I got a brain aneurysm, which, I could twist it if I wanted to, but I'll never say that. But what I will say is that perhaps my recovery period took a little bit longer because I was continually inflamed, trying to get over this difficulty that I had with the aneurysm and herpes outbreaks at the same time. And it was quite exhausting. It wasn't until I was 56, had, through the menopausal years, gained weight, got my arthritis, had to stop doing yoga, had to, because I couldn't move my shoulder, and all sorts of things. Old age symptoms were coming around, and I just figured that's it, right? I also had a hope that when I reached menopause, that the outbreaks might like say, okay, we'll just settle
Calm
down.
down a bit.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I can't base these thoughts. It was just kind of a hope that maybe when I actually got to this phase of my life that things would settle down. No, no, Um, so my last resort, I mean, I went from raw vegan to vegan. I did vegetarian, pescatarian. My husband is a fisherman. So in the later years, before I went carnivore, I was eating fish again because obviously the vegan diet wasn't doing anything for me. And I was completely lost. I was completely isolated, alone, and shame. I mean, this whole heavy feeling of shame. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I suffering like this? Why? Why? And I did all the meditations. I did all of, just let me put it out to anybody that I did anything that I could possibly imagine doing to heal myself, but nothing worked until I went carnivore. And it's just crazy because within 6 months, these full body huge outbreaks just were gone. And I will say specifically that for me, it took 3 months. At the third month, I had an outbreak on my belly, but it was just one side. It wasn't all over my torso. It was just one side. And I thought, something is happening here. Not only am I feeling great, not only have I found the fountain of youth,
Hmm.
but I'm not getting these huge outbreaks anymore. And then 3 months after that, I had my very last outbreak. It was just two little bumps on my wrist, nowhere else. And that was it.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And like this is there's just so many things to take away. And Vida, like I know all your videos and you do a great job about like how can you let people know how common this actually is? Like how common herpes is. Like a lot of people, and I think there's different sides if I'm not mistaken. Like you can be a carrier and not have an outbreak. And
Yep.
it's quite possible that there's a lot more out there than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give a little history of the herpes virus. The herpes virus, first of all, there's 8 different kinds of herpes. And the most common, the ones that, that I was suffering from, right, was HSV1, which is the cold sore. So if anybody's ever had a cold sore, you have herpes. Sorry to break it to you, but
Yeah.
the number of people who have cold sores or have had one and never had another one uh, still means that you are carrying the herpes virus. So you have it and you are quite possibly passing it along to others without even knowing it, without knowing. So the history of that, especially for HSV1 and genital herpes, is HSV1 has been, which is cold sores, has been, we got it, humans or hominids back from the primates. I mean, the primates were carrying it between each other.
Mm.
Um, and then it passed on when we became humans or the human form, or don't
Yeah.
give me the science stuff. I can't tell you, but when we were officially a species and no longer uh, uh, apes,
Mm.
uh, we have been carrying it forever. It's been with us forever, literally for millions and millions of years. HSV1. HSV2 has been with us for pretty much that long, but not quite as much. Still, the primates were passing it along to each other, and then so did we. So it's been around forever. I don't know why anybody thinks it's a new thing. It's so common. It's almost as if uh, uh, we've traveled together throughout all these years, been pals, we should call them our herpes pals and not, feel any shame for this virus that is so common. And all the other herpes viruses as well. But most people get cold sores, they have genital herpes, and they get shingles. So the shingles comes from chickenpox. If you had chickenpox when you were a kid, chances are sometime later on in your life, you're going to get a herpes zoster, an outbreak on it happens on the torso.
And that's interesting because a lot of people don't relate those things. They relate it to chickenpox, but they don't admit what it is. And there's we're going to get back to that too as well. That's
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And so so I got stuck now for a
sorry,
minute.
I didn't mean to.
Just a minute. This is aneurysm stuff.
Oh,
It happens. Uh, so, uh, so the herpes zoster comes from chickenpox, and then the Epstein-Barr comes from mononucleosis, which is a very, very common thing that lots of people got, right? So, but Epstein-Barr does not happen in blisters. You don't get blisters, right? And so it's just HSV1, genital herpes, and shingles that happen in the form of the skin blisters. So so it's quite common. There's estimates from the CDC that says that 7 to 9 people out of 10 have one form of herpes or another. That's a pretty big number.
Yep.
And for genital herpes, which is the big,
Yeah.
the big shame one,
Big shame one.
uh, yeah. For genital herpes, it's like 6 out of 10. And those are the cases that have been documented. So if you think about it, you pretty much know that the numbers are higher than that. Even a half a point higher is an incredible
Of course.
amount.
Even
Yeah,
half a
and
point
so
lower.
yeah, and the thing is that I that really bothered me about the shame that I was feeling. And it wasn't just for the genital herpes. In fact, for me, the genital herpes that I had were pretty mild
Yeah.
compared to what else was going on in my body. But, you know, going outside and being with other people and you've got this,
Oh, no.
you
Oh,
know, it's it and there is a feeling of, people are like, "Ooh, what is that?" And yeah, obviously, I would probably have had the same kind of reaction. Today, when I see somebody with a herpes outbreak, it's like, oh, can I come and hug you?
oh,
Kind of thing. But anyways, those are the general types that I carry. And the thing about genital herpes that I find so I really my heart just pours out to people because I have a Facebook group and people like they don't even want to speak out in the group because it's this shame thing that comes around it.
very big cloud for sure over your head. Yeah.
Huge,
So,
huge. And it shouldn't be there with something that is so common.
yeah.
And I mean, it's not anything that can kill you, it can't hurt you. And from what I have found, you don't have to live with it. You don't have to have outbreaks. It's not that the virus ever leaves, it'll always be there. It's just one of those things that's always in our bodies. But whether or not it can express itself, you know, you have power over it. It does not have power over you, at least to a great extent. Okay. And I started on the carnivore diet thinking there was nothing else for me to try. I had done literally everything that I could possibly have done, all the conventional medicines, the herbal medicines, the meditations, the yoga practice. I know you also practice, and nothing worked. And I've done all the diets, and I thought, carnivore, huh? Yeah, okay. Well, I'll probably be dead in a month. But if I don't try it, I'll never know. So I had come to the point of uh, listening to uh, what the doctors are telling me. I will listen, but I will no longer go to a doctor of any kind and just be, it's whatever you say, and
Mm,
I don't know anything. I
yeah.
will always come prepared to ask the questions, prepared to go back home and search things out to see
Yeah.
what are the other alternatives, what have other people done. And I think with herpes, it's the reason why I am here today shouting out, you know, if you got herpes, eat meat. And right? Really, right?
Oh, yes. And Vida, I think there's so many things there that, like, for one, yes, we are not doctors. But when we're talking about diseases, conditions, healing, I mean, I come from, the sort of the spiritual side as well. I do a lot of meditation, breath work. And I think a lot of times we get these, like, especially in the spiritual community, it's all upper chakras, third eye, enlightenment. Whether you think this is a simulated universe or an artificial reality, or this is Maya, you're still here. You have this presence, and your physical body has to obey the laws of physics on planet Earth. So it's interesting how a lot of people, and it sort of breaks my heart because they're so focused on healing their mind and getting outworldly, that I believe grounding and getting grounded and connected to your body is so important. And when we're looking at this, like we both know, a lot of people come into the carnivore space with weight loss, or they want to lose weight, or they've heard keto works, and your story, and specifically viruses, we get told things, and we're in uncharted territory now. Like, your story is uncharted. Like, this is you are a medical anomaly. They'll say things like, you're just lucky, it's just you. And
Mm-hmm.
through my history of myself, almost same conversation with a doctor about diabetes. There's nothing you can do, you're gonna have it. And it's like, well, I completely disagree, and I'm gonna hold my own here. And look what happened. It's reversed. Oh, wow. You took you what? How many years of medical school to tell me that? Like, thanks for giving me hope. You know? And you know what, when you've done something so profound, and I mean, I can't even imagine how it would feel when you've got all this stuff going on, all the mental gymnastics you must have been doing from, just being around your family, like, that must have been horrible. And it's so crazy how there's so many similarities with this stuff. Like, I'm seeing now, I have one of my clients, Noelle. She's 68. She's been with me for about 10 months. She got into it, like, for her own reasons. And it's taken her a while to get into the groove of the carnivore. But, she just told me last week, she went to the eye doctor and her glaucoma's gone.
Yeah,
What?
exactly.
And she's like, oh yeah, my eye doctor said my glaucoma is like, your vision's like way better and it's going away. It's gone. Are you kidding me? At 68 years old, how is that possible? You know? And that's
Mm.
just the kind of things that I'm starting to see, like with myself, stories like yours, that these things are, and I'm the same as you with the carnivore dogma. Like, I do believe there is obviously a species specific appropriate diet, but there's still going to be some areas where you can be you, you
Some
know?
flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you first went carnivore, and you said, like, 6 months, you kind of started to see, was it 6 months you started to see the things were getting better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was 6 months when when the outbreaks completely
Okay.
disappeared, but things got better
Right away.
the first night
Yeah.
that I ate meat. And I woke up the next day
Yeah.
and I was like, I have to go running. I gotta go running.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta get outside. And
Yeah.
out of the blue, and I don't like running. It's not my thing. So immediately, almost immediately, I had very little keto flu
Mhm.
and just moved into it. Before I forget something, I hope I'm not cutting you off in your thoughts.
Mhm.
You talked about up here in the upper chakra areas. Okay, so if we really look at it, I agree with you fully. I spent most of my life up here in my sixth chakra area, like connected to the
Yeah.
universe and
Yeah.
everything. I completely and everything had to happen up here. And I fully understood with this carnivore thing because it was the only diet that grounded me.
Mhm.
And if you were to compare me something to something on this planet, I'm a cloud type. I'm always moving, and that's how I work. That's how I am. And and carnivore just like took me from this abstract area of thought,
Yeah.
of inspiration, of ideas, and just brought it through my entire channel, and boom,
Mm.
grounded me.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I know this from the cells in my bones, right? I know this. That's why the carnivore diet brought me a sense of confidence that I had never had any time in my life.
Hmm.
And people may hear that and go, what the heck is she talking about? And it's one of those things that you have to actually experience.
Yes.
But because I was always up here, I was never able to process things and put them out in a physical way in the world.
Yeah.
Uh, Suddenly, I started my YouTube painting channel, and I'm like saying, well, I'll just do a video and upload it and see what happens. And, which was something that I never would have done because it wasn't perfect. I couldn't be perfect on camera, right? And what did I know and all of this? So my confidence level was just shut down, my third chakra area just completely shut down, which
Yeah.
is the brains of this physical reality that we're all in. So if we're not in balance, because we have a physical body that needs to eat a proper human diet, right?
Yeah.
When you can really balance yourself down and ground yourself, then all these things happen.
It's like a
All
fountain, right? Like it
it's
just,
It's
yeah.
unbelievable. There is no way that I would ever in my entire life, up until 56 when I went carnivore, come out and do podcasts and talk to people and do videos about herpes. I
Mhm.
didn't want anybody to know about that.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding? And for some reason, it was like I found this answer. It's an answer
Yeah.
to help people.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to, if you're going to get an outbreak once in a while or something, people who suffer like I did, they don't care. You don't care if you're going to get like a little outbreak, big deal, right? But people who get them continually, and I'm working with people who get them continually, and when they're carnivore and only carnivore
Yeah.
without dairy, I
Mhm.
mean, when they're carnivore, they get better.
Yeah.
When they started adding in others, it's very similar to my situation. But that does not mean
Yeah.
that being the dogmatic carnivore type that I am not, that later on they won't be able to eat the
Exactly.
dairy,
Yeah.
that you won't be able to have vegetables again, or some kind of fruit. It really depends on you. But if you want to fix yourself,
Yes.
go carnivore
Yeah.
at least for 3 months,
Yeah.
at least.
That's a good point because I often explain to people like there's like a 0 point where we might be, in a perfect, optimal, everything's great state. How far are you away from that? And some people are obese. Some people have a condition or a disease or something that's holding them back from that 0 point. And when you get back to that 0 point, the amount of expansion you can go the other way, it depends on how much, it's like this yin yang, like this balance. And when you're talking about what you did and giving it time, like this, I kind of want to get into the viral side of things. Like I during the pandemic, I was scared. Like the world, everybody's like, what the hell's going on? And that was my time to sort of like use what I was feeling. My body was healing during that time. I was like getting healthier. I wasn't at the carnivore space yet, but I started learning. My brain was starting to work, and I was like, okay, well, let's look at what viruses are. Let's look at what I want to be prepared. I don't want to be this flash number on CNN, a statistic like freaking out and dying. So I was like, okay, let's get involved. Let's start to learn. So I was in school. I started taking virology, immunology, And just nothing crazy. Like I didn't get my degree or anything, but it was just enough to sort of get familiar with how this stuff works. And everything started just making sense. And not to mention, by the time the world went the other way with these things, I'd already
Yeah.
known where I was, because it's just it makes sense when you break it down. And now viruses, when you're talking about these outbreaks and what's going on in your body, and we often pigeonhole it like, okay, you have this happens. Why? What's the difference?
Why?
Why don't you have it all the time? There has to be cause and effect. There has to be, or
There
else
has to be.
you'd be a walking herpes, right? Like there
Yeah.
has to be a reason. And that ties you into nervous system, immune system, gut, microbiome, all, and so on and so on. But what I learned with viruses is they don't want to die. They want to thrive. They need
Oh,
you.
yeah.
They need you to live. And when a virus takes, it can be present, but when it has I don't want to say a weakness, but it gets an avenue into hijacking the cell, then it depends on your immune system how badly it shows itself, which would explain asymptomatic people, which would explain remission. Like it's the immune system working for you and together, because the virus doesn't really go away. We're exposed to pathogens. And that was the other thing. When we look at, like you said it yourself, with how long we've been with these viruses, well, they're not the only ones, right? Like we are exposed to
Exactly.
viruses all the time. And sorry, guys, but I'm going to explain something to you. Putting hand sanitizer on your hands, you're actually
Not a good
weaker.
idea.
You're weaker. We have
Yes.
a microbiome all over our skin. There is a reason we are supposed to be, this stuff happens. And if you look at that, it's so crazy how this relates to everything that I learned in, like, with these courses. And it's all how your immune system reacts. We have the innate immune system, the adaptive immune system. Your adaptive immune system learns antibodies, all that stuff. How vitamin D is a huge part of it. How it drives your reaction. Like a bad reaction would be a cytokine storm, and your body's going, we got to get this, back to back, and it just goes hyperactive, bang. And when you're talking about your carnivore experience, why? Nourishment. You're eliminating all the possible distractions in your gut, calming everything down, rebuilding your gut, and oh, look, what's coming with it? Your nervous system, your immune system, your brain, your neurotransmitters, your healing. It's healing. And that's the thing that is really, really fascinating, because quite often we get into this for whatever reason we do, and these non-scale victories start happening. And I'll tell you, like, Vida, I'm pretty sure that that's probably your greatest victory, is this, life-changing thing that you tried for. How long did you want to start the carnivore diet for? What was your sort of, okay, I'll try this? How long did you sort of say?
Uh, for a month, I
Mm.
said I'll do it for a month,
Yeah,
because that's how I started the raw vegan diet.
yeah,
So uh, I just said I'll do the raw vegan thing for a month, and it worked. I mean, you guys,
of course.
it
Well,
worked because I got rid of
yeah.
all of the
Well,
the
what would
yeah,
that would mean to me? You eliminated a lot of stuff. Your body
exactly.
responded to it, but that
Yes,
doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Like it's that balance of
it's
healing
that balance.
and triggers, right? And I mean, we're exposed to so much stuff in our environment now, and it's
Yeah.
obviously you're gonna respond when you stop poisoning your body, whether it's seed oils or sugar or some. You're gonna have a honeymoon phase, and we all know as carnivores, vegans go carnivore. Carnivores never go vegan. I don't think I've ever,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think I've
so.
ever heard of a carnivore going vegan for health. They might. I actually did it for 3 days for spiritual reasons. I was
Uh-huh.
I wasn't gonna abstain from meat, and that 3 days, I was like, I'll fast. I'd rather fast than do this, right? Like just for my, but it's
Ex-
interesting how that everybody reports that, like, oh, I went raw vegan, and I get the comments in my channel. I'm sure you do too. I went raw vegan and things were awesome. Well, how are you now? Like, how long? How sustainable is it? Where are you getting your
yeah.
vegetables from? What's been done to them? I would
Yes.
say if you're like what fascinates me with you is because you started getting these outbreaks sort of into your like 40s. Am I is correct?
Yes. 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 Yes.
So
Yeah, the very first one I got, I was 34. I
okay,
was 34, which was just my lower lip, but my entire lower lip that swelled up.
yeah.
I mean, it was ugly. It was awful. That was the first big one. Other than that, just regular cold sores before that. And then like 10 years later in my 40s, I started getting um the
Well,
really bad ones.
and it's really quite interesting how all the shit that we're exposed to and
Go
all
ahead.
the now forever chemicals and stuff have to play a factor. And it's not a coincidence that as we get older, if our bodies aren't nourished and properly, we could argue now that we're on a proper human diet, that weakness starts to go and you get start to be, it's just, and we get told we're getting old. Oh, it's just the way it is. Suck it up, you know? That's not true. That's
I
just not
totally bought that. I did.
yeah,
I totally bought it.
yeah. And I mean, so many people by the time they start to hopefully wake up, they've been programmed so bad in this like they've been told, you got to take this, there's nothing you can do, we can manage the symptoms, why, and it's funny how your story, your situation with what you've done and what's happened to you is the same as my client Noelle with her glaucoma. We're just showing different symptoms and they're telling us we're different, where I don't believe that. I believe it's just our body's way of presenting something that's out of control or
Yep.
confused or not the ability to heal. And it's so fascinating how, we can relate these things. We're so divided with everything, Epstein Barr as well. Like there's so many people and if you look at the symptoms of Epstein Barr, sounds pretty like, brain fog, fatigue, like so on. They're pretty common symptoms. How do you know that this isn't happening, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
and
Exactly.
and it's and I'm a firm believer in a proper human diet. Like I love it how you're non-dogmatic as well. Like I mean, I think the carnivore diet is a tool.
Absolutely.
Once you use that tool to start going your way, you can start to and as long as it's not personal, because like I mean we hold on to things. I wish I could eat pasta, I really do. Grew up having spaghetti dinners around the around the family dinners, and I miss it, but it's not worth it. It does me nothing, and definitely not their pasta. So
Yeah.
it's I love the way that you came, like, and your videos are so like they're not in your face. You've got your own like beautiful style and energy about you, and I love it because it's bringing this into people's awareness that it's okay to talk about these things, and I love it that we're not doctors, but it's just amazing to see the potential of healing, you know and I think that's what this sometimes this community gets so caught up in against the doctors that are obviously ridiculous, whatever their propagandist telling you, eat vegetable oils are okay and sugar is not a problem and blah blah blah. We go right against that and we do this. We forget that it's the inspiring stories like yours that should be in the forefront. That it's like, well, hold on, who cares about science? Vida's done this. That's it. You know?
Exactly. And it's more about being the example
Yeah,
rather than pushing your ideology onto anybody.
exactly.
So, as an example, in my family, I'm married. I have twin daughters. They're 26 now. But throughout all of this time, it was just me being the example. And the jokes going around the table. Mom, you can't eat all that fat. You're going to die. This is going to kill you. What are you doing? Are you insane? Oh my God, here comes the lion. Here comes the tiger. It's
Yeah.
like, and, and, you know, you have to live with that if you're alone doing something like this, that everybody else is pretty much against and saying, this is wrong. This is going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, now they're looking at me saying,
Yeah.
gosh, when
Yeah.
was the last time you had an outbreak?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Yes. Oh man. And just that, just you saying that, like, I understand because I've felt these things, not to the
Yeah,
same, obviously not to the same way you have, but I get, like, when you know it, when you feel it, you know it, and it's just
you know it.
these undescribable things. And I mean, that's so true. Like, I'm the same way now. 4 years, I was ridiculed at the start. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're crazy. You can't do that. Oh, do you want to come out for dinner? Are you going to cheat? Oh, I'm so happy. Like, you can have a piece of cake. Just have a piece of cake, right? It's
Just have
like,
a piece of cake.
and like, when I have my CGM, this is my last day, and I had some experiments, and we talked about it on the podcast this Sunday. I had 2 slices of pizza for an experiment to see what would happen. My blood sugar shot up past 10, and
Wow.
I had ice cream last week just to see how things went. It only went up to 6.5. So 2 slices of pizza, the amount of sugar, and I felt the difference. Like 100% in my body felt a little bit like, ooh, just different. So if that's possible and you're not aware of it, that's happening all the time. And I'm sure you understand that too. Like, we just get used to feeling like crap and we think it's
Yes.
normal.
Yes, yes. And to further that, or to give my input on what you just said, uh, the last night, in fact, I was at my mother-in-law's, and we were we needed to be there for a while, and uh, I hadn't eaten anything all day, and this was now 8 o'clock. We're going 9 o'clock, and I'm thinking, I want to eat. I was, not in my happiest moments that. So there were these things coming in, and she was like, "Well, have a banana." And I thought, well, it's fruit. I can have a banana, right? I can do that once in a while. And so I ate literally a half of that banana, and came home, went to bed, and woke up this morning with brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in my previous life, pre-carnivore, I would have never, never understood that by eating the banana or the half of banana or
Yeah.
a bite of a banana
Yeah.
would bring me to that place, and that I wasn't, it was like, oh, I'm just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's because it's cloudy out, or
Yeah.
maybe
Of
something,
course.
right? Who knows?
Yeah.
And it's not just the brain fog that's going on, right? It's not just that. It's that my energy was just dampened.
Yeah.
And the only way I could see that was because I've been carnivore. And anytime that I had done that on the carnivore diet in these past 4 years, gone off or had a bite of something here and there, the effect of it happens immediately. I don't sleep as well. I wake up, I'm not, maybe I'm just kind of achy.
Yeah.
I'm not sick. I don't get sick. I haven't been sick in 4 years since I went carnivore. And so no, you can't tell me that's just how it is. We get locked into the idea. That's what we've been taught. That's what everybody's experience has been before us. So we're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's it. That's what happens. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not true. You guys, it's not true.
Yeah.
Not true. You can be 60, 70 and feel like you're 20.
Yes. That,
That's a fact.
I think there's like, I loved your video on the when you had a little bit of rice, because that's the small details that we take for granted every day. And you
Yep.
know, like when you're not clear, when you're not aware, these things are just you. Like when you wake up and you have a headache, migraines, whatever it is, there's a reason, there's a cause,
There's a reason.
or else you'd always have a headache. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of my idea about healing is our bodies were born a certain, you know, you've got a biological path. If it knows how to be in a healthy, vibrant state, the things that are presenting itself along the way to not being that vibrant state, there's reasons for them. And we just put everything in the same box and just say, poor us. Well, what if there was reasons? And what if
What if? Yeah.
food, food, you know, and I quite often I've heard this around the carnivore doctors, and this makes like when I heard this makes like light bulbs start blinking and fireworks. Drugs are molecules. Drugs are molecules derived a lot of times from nature. They take, extract, and they do things and manipulate. They have side effects. Well, food is a bunch of molecules. They have effects and they have potential side effects. So, how do you think that it would be very naive to think that these molecules that are all combined in all these things would have no side effects? And is it possible? And if we're, I want to get into the protein thing too, because like you mentioned something last. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm excited. This is wicked. But that's the thing when we're eating these stuff, and they say, "Oh, it's not what you eat; it's just the energy." And I'm sorry, I think that's nefarious. I think there's been a plan to get you thinking calories. Like and I don't want to sound too tinfoil hatty here, but when you start looking at how we went fat, low fat, now it's like supermodel thin was celebrated, putting women in a position where this is what you need to look like. Now they're celebrating obesity, saying it's okay to be. And now you're looking at menus, seeing how many calories. It's okay to have 4 cheeseburgers because it's this much calories. I think it's all been driving us towards this, you know, arguably pharmaceutical push, the control, the whole system has been once you start feeling the opposite way, you just like someone that says calories, like what? You know, sugar is bad. I don't care how much calories. Like just stop.
Just stop.
Anyway, when we start getting into that different mindset, holy shit, things start like just they start opening up. And when you start healing, like how do you feel now, knowing what you know now? And I know we've all gone through. I just had a little message with Victoria, same thing. Like her whole family's again, like saying she's looking at them, going, "You guys, stop eating this crap, and you're gonna feel better." I mean, how is your family now about what you're doing? Like, how are they coming around?
My husband has also started eating meat again. Uh, and he's not carnivore, but I would put him in the ketovore area, but very, very loosely because he will have,
Yeah,
his nuts and he will have some kind of dessert once in a while. But he is very, very active and he's basically ketovore.
yeah,
So again, it's going with how each person is. He's very, very active
hmm,
and very powerful in that way. So he seems to handle carbohydrates a little bit more and better than I do.
yeah,
My one daughter who had also gone vegan like a few years after I did. I started, they were about 10 years old, I guess, somewhere around there. And when she was 13, she went vegan as well and had been vegan from 13 to till what, 25, 24, 25. And as the years went on, she started getting problems. Her knees were hurting, her just problems and anxiety and things, which everybody says, well, you're going through puberty and this and that, panic attacks. So she had we rushed her to a doctor. We were on the mainland in Greece, and he was check her heart, and he's like, yeah, this is a panic attack. And it was awakening to watch her go through that. My other daughter, they're twins, so they're the same age. My other daughter never did the vegan thing, but they heavy plant-based, heavily plant-based.
Yeah.
And now she has gone, my daughter who had the panic attack, and she is now, um, she doesn't eat meat, but she does eat fish. She eats eggs. She eats dairy. So she's incorporating these things again, and she is much more balanced. Does not have the big,
Yeah.
huge emotional swings, and just feels better. And you can hear it in her voice.
Yeah.
You can hear it in her energy and the way she is.
So sorry,
And
Vida,
and
can I want to cut up just you said this. Isn't that weird how your outbreaks were doing this and now you can see it calming down? It's a physical reaction, but it's the same outcome. But in your brain, when your brain gets nourished, sorry, your daughter is now you can probably feel the energy just coming back into balance, right?
she's balanced.
Yeah.
Yes, both of them are. My other daughter is has always been. She always loved meat, so she's cutting out the extra sugars and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And she's basically very, very, very healthy. Everybody thought that I was crazy, but this thing about
Yeah.
the spikes, if you look at when your body is running on carbohydrates, right? You're spiking up and then you're dropping. And without being a doctor, without doing the research, I can pretty much guess that when I'm spiked up on my carbohydrates, life is good.
Yeah.
And when I'm crashing down, it's like, I don't have any energy. I'm going to go take a nap, and maybe I'll get more emotional, or maybe I don't know. But ever since Carnivore, my emotional state, which has always been up and down, I have always been emotionally just all over the place. And, and for the past 4 years, I have been just
Solid.
steady.
Yeah.
I'm solid and steady.
Yeah.
And I can't mark it up to menopause, which everybody said when you go menopause, everything will calm down. You won't be so. I can't do that because I went into menopause and I was still spiking up and down. Nothing had changed emotionally. The only thing that did that is carnivore. And it's because ketones
Yes.
run smoothly.
Well, that's a whole.
Ketones, yeah, ketones are your marathon runners.
Yes.
Carbohydrates, you're running a sprint,
And then you're
okay?
exhausted.
And then you got to stop. You,
Yeah.
you you collapse.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it be in my very, very small artistic mind, whatever, right? Why wouldn't it be that if my body is running on ketones, everything else in my body is going to be like the ketone energy?
Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole other video on my thoughts on menopause because I mean, who's this guy? What does he know? I've helped women with their hormones, and it's not rocket science, man. Like who's like I kind of see hormones the same way. We have a transmitter and a receiver, and then we have a signal. That
Mhm.
signal, that signal, whether the amount of the signal, if your receiver or your transmitter is not working properly, the amount of signal is irrelevant. So we think, oh, you're low testosterone, fix it with testosterone. We think, you have an estrogen problem, estrogen dominance. It's an estrogen problem. Maybe it's how your body's communicating with each other, and that estrogen, or and there's what makes the stuff. And I honestly think all these, like when we were younger, we had like, because I'm 50, well 49, I'll be 50 this year. There was no panic attacks. There was no ADHD. There was no celiac. There was no these things. And I don't know your thoughts on this, but I refuse to believe the doctors back when they used to come to my house, like doctors made house calls when I was a baby.
Yeah.
They didn't notice these things. They wouldn't notice. Like they try and use these excuses like, oh, we just didn't know the diagnosis. I'm sorry, but if you have a farmer dropping dead on a heart attack in a field, you would investigate it, right? So back in the
Yeah.
1920s, when heart disease was rare and heart attacks were rare, don't tell me the doctors visiting the family home wouldn't notice that. Oh, this is weird. He just dropped dead out of nowhere. So I'm in the opinion of all these. They just label them because they have to. Because there's all these women are suffering from menopause now because it's not natural. It's like obviously as you get older, women, you stop ovulating. And I obviously will never know this or feel this, but it just makes sense that that should be a natural progression. When everything calms down, it should be happy in your life. There's, like a stress has been taken away, but now menopause is such a huge problem, but it's the symptoms. So now I see people in my clinic as well, hot flashes, horrible sleep, brain fog, all this, they're the same symptoms of
Yeah.
and it's crazy how now panic attacks are such a thing. Why are you having panic attacks? Why?
Yes.
And
Yes.
am I that naive to think that it's all part of it? It's all caused by, obviously, I would say, like malnutrition, probably chronic
Yes.
elevated insulin, sugar,
Yes.
and your gut is some way, shape, or form. Obviously, the environmental toxins, I believe, is another issue that we're so far removed from. Like we have no idea what these things are doing. And then, by the time you get to the diagnosis or the doctor's office, you're the one that's broken and sick. There's nothing you can do. It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
Take this
Yeah.
pill and you'll be fine. And
Yeah.
how fine were you with their creams, Vida? Right? And that's
Oh boy.
and that's where, this new way of thinking, and it's I find it amazing how we're the crazy ones. We're the ones that people look at and go, you're nuts, like you're gonna die. And I can see in your energy, in your ness, how excited you are to share this with people in your videos. And it's inspiring because, like, instead of saying I could never do that, look at the example that you're setting and say, you know what, Vita's done it, let's try it. Vida, you inspired me to go get back on coffee, and I'll tell you why.
I don't know if that was such a good thing,
No,
but
no, no,
hey.
no. But this is where I'm a checks and balances kind of guy, and
Yeah, yeah, I think we're very similar with
I
that.
I test myself all the time. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's look at the pros and cons. Let's look at all the Paul Saladino, and there's a couple doctors. Caffeine's bad. Yes, there's seeds, plant, polyphenols. Dave Asprey's a huge fan of coffee, saying it brings a lot of good stuff to the table. I am under the impression that I use it to get a couple tablespoons of butter in the morning. That's a good thing. But I also want to see how my body is with caffeine, so I cut it out. I cut it out for 10 days, I think I went. And I didn't really notice any difference. I wasn't having any kind of difference in sleep. I wasn't freaking out. It was like I just miss it. And then when we were talking, and this is my thing, why I would be concerned about coffee is because I'm more worried about the health side of things. And when you said
Me
that
too.
you're on your own iteration of the carnivore diet, and the stuff that you did the diet for is still in remission, and it's still like, and you're drinking coffee, I'm like, this is why I'm gonna drink coffee. Obviously
Yeah.
it's just your N of one, right? And it's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And the thing is we are all in a different stage of our own
Yes.
vitality,
Yeah.
either lack of vitality or you're spilling over with vitality.
Yeah.
And if you're spilling over with vitality, you can, drink a coffee if you like it and you enjoy it, and it's giving you something beautiful,
Yeah.
and you will see immediately if it's going to affect you in a positive or negative way. And that's how I go about talking with people. It's like, okay, where are you?
Yeah.
what are your health problems? What is it that you want to fix? How are you going to get back to your own authentic, vital health?
Yeah.
And when you can get there and you feel it and you feel it every single day, and that is not an exaggeration.
No.
You feel it every time you open your eyes and you get out of bed. There's no more grogginess.
Yeah.
There's no more, I mean, it's just, it all disappears.
Yeah.
You're functioning from the moment you open your eyes. And I said, when you can get back to that, to your vitality, then, and you've eased away some of these symptoms, some of the problems, then go ahead and like bring coffee back in or start with coffee. And if you still have problems, then you know that the coffee needs to go for a while.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's the egg whites or the eggs altogether. I would assume it's the egg whites, rather than the yolks. But you work with it
Yeah.
and you see what happens. Like in the summertime here in Greece, we have absolutely the best watermelon that I've ever had anywhere on the planet. And I've done videos on this. I talk about it because I know that this summer I am going to have watermelon again. It's my favorite thing on the planet. So how do I go? Do I dive into the half a watermelon and just eat the whole thing? No, no, because I'm aware and I know that it's going to affect me. It's going to affect my sleep. It's
Yeah.
just going to affect me. It'll do other things that are good for me, but it's not going to be good for my herpes, which probably was connected to Hashimoto's. I didn't mention that I had also
Sure.
uh, Hashimoto's, right? So I another reason why I need to stay away from sugars
Hmm.
for any kind of disruption in my thyroid
Hmm.
type thing. So, but I will have some watermelon because I love it.
Yeah.
And I know and I'm aware and I'm able now to eat as much as I want or as I need and then let it go for a week.
Yeah.
And if I feel like it's disrupting me, I just let it go anyways. And it's not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's beautiful, right? Like that's the idea is like I explain to the people that I'm helping, ask this one question. Is it worth it? And if you can understand the reasons why it wouldn't be worth it, you're on your way,
Mhm.
right?
That's exactly.
Sometimes it's worth it. And I understand we all got to live. We all have families. We all want to experience life to the fullest. But when you're why are you here and what are you doing to get to that point where you can say, is it worth it? I think is very nuanced. And I think we're a lot of people won't try something for 30 days to see this, yet they suffer all the time. And I don't know if it's partly because, like, obviously we've experienced things that are indescribable, and you're trying to describe it to somebody that hasn't felt it, and they're when they weigh out that what I've been told, what I've been taught, and what I've experienced, like, this is ridiculous, it's just you. Well, Vida, I don't know how many carnivore friends in our sort of carnivore community you have, but this is not random. It's clear now. All these stories, all these conversations that we're having. You know, what is 30 days? Try something for what's it gonna do? You go on a
I
medication for
Yeah.
a course. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why people would just prefer to just take the pills and do whatever the doctor said without stepping into your own sovereignty
mm-hmm.
and your own physical health, the responsibility of that, and taking that also into your own hands. And I'm not saying, that, oh, well, I'm just going to do everything all on my own. I'm not saying that. Go ahead and, work with physicians. Obviously, work with them. If you need to take the medications, take them. But you can still, you can
Yes,
still take a necessary step to get rid of at least the seed oils, at
Yes.
least all of the manufactured foods and the sugars, and go do a paleo diet. I mean, start there.
Yeah.
But you can get rid of all of the big crap. And then when you actually start to feel a little bit more connected, because you will, then you go maybe to a more ketogenic,
Yeah.
just keep lowering and lowering and lowering those carbs. And just to experience it, just to see. There are some people like me that can just dive right in and just
Yeah.
go through it and see what happens, and others who want to go slowly. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever works for you,
Yeah.
but do it. At least do it.
And I mean that you made a few good points there too. It's like when you're looking at your diet, when you're looking at all these foods and that they're selling and they're telling you that it's okay and it's no, just in moderation, it's all good. Like just it's all good. Who benefits when they have a when they present a new idea? Just ask yourself who benefits.
Who is benefiting from
And
this? Yeah.
and if you can see a pathway to financial gain, it's probably not you. That's it. It's just, and then they say, okay, well, just a little bit of this, or they're trying to replace that. And we talked a little bit about your daughter's diets and pescatarian and vegetarian. I've actually helped my friends. They were from Chile. They were vegans, pretty much vegetarians. They were open to eating eggs and dairy and cheese. Anyway, when I talked to them about nutrition, this was 3 years ago. They still eat 15 eggs a day. That's what they eat. They're vegetarians that now act like carnivores, but they're using eggs as their base for nutrition. And they
Right,
put
right.
things in. They stopped sort of relying on lentils, quinoa, and legumes for protein, which that makes me happy.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to, I think, is your essential nutrients. And then all this corporate stuff blocks the essential nutrients. So I think
Yeah.
I think and in your situation, like it's truly amazing. And I think it's not about the carnivore diet. It obviously has a part to play, but you give your body what it needs and it thrives and it starts to heal and it starts to present itself in miraculous ways. And it's just nutrition. This is the real, like, whether you want to argue it or not, when your body's nourished, essential amino acids, which we're going to get into because I want to talk to you about arginine too. Essential amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals. Before all these magic formulas and things, your body will respond, and it will start to improve.
Exactly. And I, I don't go into all of the different medical this, that, and the other thing because well, first of all, I'm not there, but I have found that people come and ask me, well, just how do you know when you're eating too much meat? Or how do you know when this? And it's like, okay, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Nourishing ourselves isn't hard. It ain't rocket science, you guys. It's the easiest thing. It's like breathing. Can you breathe? Do you think about it? You know when you need a breath and you take a breath. And your nourishment, our nourishment needs to come back to that because if we let go of all the fluff, the supermarket stuff, the
Yeah,
prepackaged foods and the this and that, and you have to have this amount of, whatever, this, that, and the other thing, um, we get lost in it and and we lose our own power because of all the stuff that we're supposed to know or what we're not supposed to do. And so, like I help people when they're just starting carnivore and they're like, okay, how much do I eat? What do I do? How much? And it's like, you're hungry, you feel hungry, go and eat something.
that's it. That's it.
That's it. You
Right.
want to sleep, lie down and take a nap or, go to bed, whatever. That's it. That's it.
I have a little thought experiment I run on people, and it's like, what would you do if you're on a deserted island? What would you do? First,
Fish.
probably look to what your environment is, see what's available. First of all, birds, fish, maybe. Would you be
Hmm.
going, I'm gonna plant crops and wait for the broccoli to grow?
Yeah, no.
Wait for the kale, the superfoods to nourish you? What happens when there's no broccoli sprouts? And people say, well, no, not well, this is survival.
Yeah.
If your instincts are kicking in, you will survive. You will be looking for, barnacles, shellfish. You will be looking for animals, and you need to get to when the crops were going to be cultivated. So, obviously water. And then you look at the water and go, how much do I drink? Who says that? How much water do I need? You need 2 liters of water a day. How does any other animal on the planet know how much water to drink? They need a source. They drink till they're done, and then they come back to the source when they need more. Right? We can drink.
Exactly.
We can crush 12 beers with no problem. Like it's not even a thought. But
Yeah,
yet
that's okay.
drink 12 cans of water. It's not going to happen. Like your body will shut it down, right? Like guzzle back a 5-liter jug of water. It is not going to happen. And it's the same thing with food. Like, how is it possible that every other animal that can't do this gift of communicating and speaking knows exactly what to eat? You
Hmm.
know, mothers teach their kids in the animal world what? How do they tell, like, baby deer, this is the forage that we eat till, oh, you've had enough. You only need 3 leaves today. Back away, you know? And I do think obviously we have the gift of being conscious and aware, but remember, like this is like you just said, it's not rocket science. Eat. And when you're done, your body will say enough if it's natural food. I've had enough.
Exactly.
Stop eating. And then when we look at the stuff that hijacks that signal, maybe that's not good. If you can crush 14 pounds of popcorn, maybe it's not supposed to be food, right?
Ah, that's a really, really good point.
If you can eat a 250, 300-gram bag of potato chips, but you can't finish a piece of meat, a little bit of starch, and a veggie on your plate, maybe there's something wrong here, you know?
Maybe there's something wrong. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I mean, I look at these things and I feel you, because it's like a lot of people start off this way, and it's like I honestly believe like your body you need to figure out these natural signals are natural and instinctive, and like children know this stuff. Like I have a thing with my mom when I was younger. I hope you're okay for time. Are you okay for time?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
fine.
cool.
I'm
Because
fine.
like, well, even if we have to split this up into parts, I don't care. I love the conversation, and this is it.